Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
Are you having a yum yum day?
Oh, yeah. Are you having a yum yum day?
I'm having more of a yum day.
A yum day?
But
What about year overall? We're about halfway through. Where are you at? 2022? Yum or yum yum?
yum.
Yum?
This podcast overall is a definite yum yum.
Oh, there you go. That's everything we needed to know. Clap, clap our hands. But let's get, as David Lynch would say, get real.
Get real.
We are Ryan and Rachel of YumYumPodcast fame. That's right. The Yum Yum is so well known, everybody has it in their brain. As we know, Lita Alexander sent a telepathic message into all of our brains with Yum Yum. What a way to promo the pod. But we are a sci-fi rewatch podcast. We're rewatching episodes of science fiction television. Star Trek Discovery and has been covered mainly. We're going to get to season 4 eventually. I swear it. Rachel's crying, but I swear it. But we are doing Babylon 5 and we are at the end of season 2's final episode, Rachel. We're here. Are you happy?
Yes and no.
Why no? Is it because the night fell?
Londo's fucked.
Oh, I thought you were going to cry about Kefir and how Kefir didn't make it.
Oh no, Kefir fucked everything up. I'm angry at him.
So he's the positive then. Okay, cool. We have the DVD descriptions available for each of these episodes, and so I've got this one specifically ready, and I love it because it's not silly, but it does describe the episode in a way that IMDb would not describe it. So, episode 22 of season 2, The Fall of Night. Earth reacts to the Centauri's rapid invasion of several worlds, but it's not what Sheridan expected. Oh boy. I'm adding the oh boy there. Amazing revelations are made about the Shadows and the Vorlons. Ooh, it's almost like they're connected in some way. How do we go with that? Big question to ask, Rachel. Obviously, us being a podcast that is named after an infamously weird and bizarre line spoken in Star Trek Discovery, we have to get a candidate from Babylon 5 who would have said yum yum. So in The Fall of Night, who would have said the words yum yum?
I have 2 offerings.
I'm wanting to hear them.
My first offering is Head of Nightwatch.
Head of Nightwatch. That's the 2 offerings. It's
No,
Mr. Wells
right?
twice.
No, I just felt like I didn't say the H enough the first time that I said it.
She just wanted to give head twice. So, Head
Get
of Nightwatch,
fucked.
Mr. Wells.
Yes, Mr.
Played by
Wells.
John Vickery Naroon, out of the makeup.
Yep.
He looks like an evil Dale Cooper. I've always thought that. In fact, when I first watched this, I thought that was Kyle MacLachlan, who I knew at that time as obviously the bad guy from the Flintstones movie, as well as Orson from Desperate Housewives, one of my favorite shows growing up, Desperate Housewives. And who's the second person?
Well, do you want to give yours first, and then I'll?
I only have one, so I don't know if we're going to connect on this, but
I don't think we are, because mine's a bit of a off-brand pick.
oh, it's Mitch, isn't it?
No.
Mine is Kefir. It's his last time on the merry-go-round, but that's not the reason. He only had a few lines here, but every single line delivery he had, you could tell the actor was giving 110% because he knew.
Milking it. He milking it.
He knew. He saw. He was on the stage. He was standing there giving all of his lines, saying, "Hey, look at me, guys! It's me, Kefir, and I'm acting my heart out." And you see they're pulling out the curtains, trying to close it on him, and he's like, "No!" And he's just throwing the curtains away until they smack him him over the head with a cane and drag him off stage. Yum Yum was what he was wanting to be. And I'll give it to Kef. Kefa,
Okay.
God bless.
My for fun's pick is Veer and Linnea
Together
as they depart in that scene, giving each other a yum yum reminiscent of a good eating to you.
And then a kiss on the lips. That's how they should have ended the scene. JMS, I know you're listening. Reboot. That's how you fix that. Write that in. And then they hug. And Linnea says, ooh, do you have 6? And then, and then we all cry with laughter.
People coming and going in secret meetings.
You never know what it's all about until later when it's too late.
They never listen to us. It makes me nervous.
This is one of those episodes where I have trouble remembering what it was like watching it for the first time.
It's at that point in the show for you, isn't it? Because the last few you've had that experience with. Because I think at this point we were like watching 6 of them a day. So they kind of blur together for you.
But also because my experience of it now is so deeply rooted in my understanding of the show as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to think back and remember that there was a time that I didn't know that the Centauri left a bomb.
Yeah, oh yes, literally, yes. And also, you brought this up before we recorded, that, hey, Ryan, has it been 10 years since I've watched B5 for the first time? Because we've been together for about 10 years, and that made me sit back and go, wow, you don't have that ability anymore to be like, oh, I've only relatively watched it recently. No. You've been in the Babylon 5 world for a decade.
Uh-huh.
Congratulations. You made it.
Do I get a chip?
You get a chip. Yeah, I also have a difficult time because this was just in a block of episodes where it was just Babylon 5 just hitting it with big boys.
Yeah, it's just
here's
so JMS.
Here's a big boy. Here's a big boy. Here's a big boy. Just all of these episodes in the back half of season 2, like the last, let's say 5 episodes, have just been bam, 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 bam. And what I really took away from this was, of course, the Night Watch being this big presence that is encroaching on the station.
And them starting to have a negative impact on our characters because
poor Zaki.
So far they've been
a thing in the background.
Benign cancer.
Yeah. And
it's been slowly but surely growing and niggling at us. But now, no. It's got teeth.
We see what they do up close. And of course the other thing was Kosh. Seeing what Kosh looked like. The big mystery since the beginning of the series is, what's that guy look like underneath? And this is the one that answers that. But yeah, I like this episode a lot. I'm going to say it though. I don't find it as exhilarating of a season finale as Chrysalis.
No.
But they're going for different.
Have that distinct feeling of a finale.
Well,
as much because so much is being set up in this finale. Like, it's a very big moment, but the episode as a whole feels like it's just so clearly leading into the next season that it feels more sort of like a mid-season finale in a way.
Yeah, and now this isn't to say I don't like it. I love it, of course. The Fall of Night is a marvelously constructed episode, and there's wonderful moments throughout it. But Chrysalis had a lot of cliffhangers and a lot of big dramatic twists and turns and reveals. But I think it hits me on an emotional level, Chrysalis, obviously because it was the cliffhanger I had for 3 years. But and this isn't to be crude because this is obviously a part of it. Chrysalis had that impact of the world has changed in terms of the president got assassinated, just like how the world was shocked and in awe of when JFK got assassinated, right? There was just that, how do we pick ourselves back up like how we did when growing up with 9/11? We talked about that in Chrysalis. While this, The Fall of Night, has that, the aftermath of such things in which the dread is seeing the rise in xenophobia and nationalism and militarization, and knowing that what lays ahead is going to be more blood. And so this has more of a quiet and subtle tension and fear simmering along, while Chrysalis had an explosion of it. Just the look on the command staff's face of seeing the president get killed and everyone trying to maintain composure but barely holding it together is what was made that season finale great. While here, this is a lot more quiet, even though we have big things like seeing Kosh and the spaceship battles and all of that. And but we have just the slow weaving of how crappy all of these people are. Earth, the Centauri, so on and so forth. The shadows are on the move, and things of that variety. But we do pick up the episode at a good place. After we have an amazing Kefir scene, of course, we get...
Before we even get to that, I just want to say that the musical sting at the very top of this episode lets you know it means business.
It's all business. That and Kefir's here. So, but we get some training stuff with Kefir, which is whatever. But we get Lanier and Via, which we have already referenced, and I
love this scene so much, so much. It's one that we reference all of the fucking time. Like, I don't think there's been 2 months in our 10-year relationship.
It makes me nervous.
Where we haven't referred to this scene in one way or another.
I love this one, but I often think of the season 5 follow-up to it with them as well, especially them just kind of saying my problem's bigger than your problem, and then Via eventually kind of winning out and Lanier just saying, you win.
Yeah.
But no, seeing these two interact was a joy because they're very similar characters. They have the same position. And so seeing them sit at the bar together, you buy it immediately.
Yes.
We haven't seen them really interactive ever before this, but seeing them two just sit next to each other and have the conversation they have, you believe it because we know these two characters so well. And isn't that absolutely bananas that we have a show with a large ensemble of characters and episodes that focus on only a few at a time, and there's so many there where characters don't show up, and yet by the end of season 2 we can safely say Lanier and Via, who are very small players in the grand scheme of things, we know those two guys really well, to the point in which we can just
much better than we ever knew Talia
or Kefir. Kefir was by design, of course, yes. But you see the scene between them, just the image of them sitting at the bar, and you know, this scene's going to be good because you like those two characters.
Yeah.
And you know their conversation will make sense. And it proceeds to make sense, in which they just talk about the woes of their lives and the parallels that they have. I particularly
They're
like...
just kind of talking at each other, but because they both know where the other is at.
It's a routine they have.
That, like, it just is such ease that they have with each other, and there's apparent daily routine.
I particularly like the exchange in which Via talks about how even his appearance has changed, and Lanier just chiding in like, tell me about it. Like, obviously, his ambassador's appearance has definitely changed as well. I thought that was beautifully done. Because in a lot of these ensemble shows, and I'd love to hear your thoughts because you watch a lot more ensemble shows than I do, especially of different varieties.
Yeah, you've been picking on me watching Grey's Anatomy quite a lot.
Yeah,
lately.
and I always bring up your love of 6 Feet Under and Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
There are so many characters that not everyone's going to get that chance to interact with each other.
Yeah.
And you as a viewer kind of weirdly crave seeing two characters who have no right to really talk to each other sometimes.
Yeah, like the world's crossing over. You get a lot of fanfic with that basis.
We talked about that when they brought in Mr. Morden and interrogated him, and how Mr. Morden really only exists in the prism of the show with Londo and Veer and really nobody else.
No.
So when that episode happened and you had him interacting with all these other characters, it was great. We were salivating at the chance to see how they were going to interact with Morden. And this is just a little example of that, but like, what are some shows where they've done a similar thing for you, in which there's two characters or some characters they pair together that you think, these people never really have a go, but you enjoy seeing it?
I'm having trouble with thinking of specific ones because it's just like I'm running through all of the shows and just thinking about lots of instances where it's like they do it one time and then it becomes a thing.
Yeah, I thought of Scrubs, weirdly enough, of the janitor and Dr. Kelso, and how they rarely, if ever, interacted, but then they do start to interact, and then they start to make it more of a thing.
Yeah, it's like they realize that they have gold there and they mine it.
Crash cart to bed 3 stat.
We gotcha! He's not really dying. I made a device that makes the sound of a flat line. It also makes that beep beep sound of a truck backing up. I use that on people who are sensitive about their weight.
I'm sure it's a blast. Okay, I put on a few. But my son's new fiancé, Kenny, owns a Cinnabon franchise. What the hell am I supposed to do?
Sorry to get serious, but we've got to pour one out. Kefir, God bless you, man. We love you. We miss you already. Tears are forming in my eyes because... I love the guy. I love Kefir because he's gone now. And so I love him. I love that he's no longer in the show. You know what I mean? Where sometimes you have an affection for a character because they finally served their purpose and fucked off. Where you go, oh, yay! I'm so happy now. That's how I feel about Kefir. Yay! The character that could have been substituted with a trash can with a radar dish attached to it has left the show. Yay! Because at the end of this, he could have just been a satellite. It would have achieved the same thing. Seeing the shadow ship and displaying it so that other people can find out about it, he could have just been a probe. Who gives a fuck about Kefir? But he's gone, and I think we should...
His name got on ISN.
Yes, it did. What did you think when you first saw it, Kefir? How the show decided to wrap this up?
I had no idea how much this was going to mean. I was just like, like the Shadows are going to care that much about the footage.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say, I didn't think the Shadows would care that much. It is Kefir. Like the idea that the shadow ship turns around and sees the insignia on his star fury and is like, oh, it's Kefir, and then it just goes away because they can't be bothered. It's just Kefir. Nobody gives a fuck about Kefir. They just go away, go back to Zahadum, and they say, hey, we bumped into this star fury, and then Mr. Morden and Toby or Justin, whatever his fucking name is, they're like, and you let them go? Well, it was Kefir. Oh, well, it was Kefir. Okay, then. And then you just sit back and relax and do whatever they do on Zahadum. Drink coffee, I guess. Whatever they do. But did you expect the series, what did you expect to happen with Kefir at all? Because he's this non-entity.
He's the non-entity, but you did let it slip that he wasn't around for the whole series. So I was hoping that he was going to die.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I remember it anyway. He sucks. I'm glad he's gone. He served his purpose. I am glad that he ended up having a purpose.
Yes.
It was not enough to justify his existence. And we know why he exists.
We know why. Studio network interference. We got it. JMS.
Are you going to include the audio drop?
I mean, JMS has talked so much about how Kefir was this blight. I don't know how he gets away with it. JMS, in audio commentaries, interviews, fucking on the sites at the time of the episode's release, would just openly talk about how Kefir was this network interference thing and had no respect for the character. And it is glorious to hear any time, because there are people who defend Kefir, and I go, why? Not even the show cares about Kefir.
He's an underdog, and that's
in the text,
something to people.
In the text, the show doesn't care about him. And in the real world, the creator of the show hates the character. It is the embodiment of anti-art, Kefir, because he's anti to the purpose of what art is. It is the corporate suits saying, we need a hotshot pilot to bring a certain demographic in, intruding upon the sincerity of the story being told. And how does JMS deal with it? He turns him into a skeleton and brutally melts his face on the camera. And every single time it happens, without a doubt, I laugh. Babylon 5 can be a very funny show. I don't think it ever makes me laugh as hard as when Kefir gets brutally murdered, because it is really funny. It is really, really funny, because you can tell, even if you don't know about the behind the scenes, you can tell that the show despised him, has contempt for him, has absolute contempt for him. And it is just really funny because everyone tells him, hey, Kefir, you're going to die. You're going to die. It's not subtle. It's not subtle. They tell you over and over again, you are going to die. And then he brutally, horribly dies. It's not a noble death.
No. And it's quick.
And no one cares. In the show, no one cares.
Everyone's like, he's missing.
Oh, Kefir's gone.
We don't even get anybody saying he's dead.
He was their best friend in the first episode.
We just get, and he's missing.
I think about how the intro credits has his smiling face. this handsome smiling
that
face.
Poor girl from home.
Oh man.
Holograms.
Oh man, I wonder if she's crying in her pillow. But every episode has his smiling face. And the juxtaposition of his smiling face with his screaming face. Beautiful. Hey, in the end of the series where they show the entire cast of characters, where they show an image of where they started and what they look like by the end of the show, they have a stupid one for Marcus where it's his cryo freezer info because JMS can't let go of his short story that sucks. They should have had one for Kefir in which it
wasn't even one that he wrote. I don't.
No, he wrote it. They gotta have one of Kefir and then one of his screaming melted face. And it has to be the one of him smiling in the opening credits and then his melting face, just to really hammer in that this show fucking hates that character.
Yep.
Has a show ever hated a character more?
I don't. Not in the same vein.
Not in the same vein. Maybe hated the actor.
Hated the actor.
I mean, you're a fan of Grey's Anatomy, and they hated Katherine Heigl, but they still respect that character weirdly.
She's very convenient because she's just off in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. fucking now it's just making me angry because I'm thinking about how Alex leaves, and that's just fucking
Grey's Anatomy
worst.
fans, you know what Rachel's talking about.
Oh, and the fact that they dare to reuse footage of that stupid fucking note in the 400th episode. Just
Grey's Anatomy fans,
just fuck right off.
you know what's happening here. I don't. Who would have said Yum Yum in Grey's Anatomy? Out of all the characters, who's likely to say it? And why is it Sandra Oh?
Because she has some of the best lines in the entire show.
Please don't cry on my ass.
Sorry?
Please don't cry.
So Nightwatch is evil.
What?
Yeah.
How did you figure that one out?
Well,
Who gave that away?
they're doing all of these fascist things. And we're told from a very early age it's bad to be fascist.
Wait. You mean a division of the Ministry of Peace that wears armbands and snitches who imprison people for sedition on any baseless claim are fascists? I can't believe that. They've got John Vickery as the head of the Night Watch, who looks like a good, nice man with slicked hair and a nice smiley face where he just smiles at you and says, "Come on, Zach."
He's offering help.
Yeah, he's middle management. That's his thing. Night Watch. They're here and they're cruel and despicable. I really thought the scene with the discussion between Mr. Wells and Ivanova was particularly well done. I loved the slow revelation Ivanova was having about what the purpose of this interaction really was about and how she is disgusted by it and firmly stands there and sticks by her morals and principles and judges them, looks down upon them, but not in a way where it would compromise her position as an officer. She's pretty level-headed about it. Like, she's not ripping his head off and throwing it in the toilet and flushing it. She's just very calmly saying, what I've seen of the Night Watch, I don't like.
It's a very civil conversation.
But there is a definite power dynamic at play.
Mm.
Mr. Wells is being nice and friendly and inquisitive, but he's already looked everything up about her, and he's already decided that she could make a perfect resource for the Night Watch. And that just brings a power balance there, because he's got all the power in the room, because he's walked in knowing what he wants already, and he knows everything about her on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't know Ivanova. Ivanova, she's got very strong convictions, and Ivanova's God. She knows everything.
Latent telepath, too.
She's a latent telepath, but she knows everything, which is great, because remember in season 3 where they try to explain the Rangers to her, but she already knows about the Rangers because she's Ivanova and she knows what's going on the station. And if she doesn't know, that's when you should worry.
Yep.
Same with the Night Watch.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Mr. Wells? And what do you think about him in terms of, like, as a character, how they use him here, but also we know this actor is in another role.
I thought it was used very effectively. I like how skeezy and slimy he is, but in that clean, bureaucratic way. Like, one of my notes was a brown suit for a shit stain of a person.
He really, really nails down evil bureaucratic guy. I have known so many kind of Mr. Wells types having to work in those type of areas in which you have the, hello guys, we're having a staff retreat or convention or meeting or blah, blah, blah. We're going to do this course or blah, blah, blah. And you have that man who's come out of the ether to just speak rhetoric at you and indoctrinate you into buying into the system. And John Vickery is so great in this role. I wrestle with if I prefer him as Naroon or Mr. Wells from sheer performance value. Naroon is better because there's more of him and he gets more stuff to do and he has a character arc, but he doesn't play Mr. Wells as he does Naroon. He has less of a Shakespearean quality as Mr. Wells and more of a guy who is really honed in on what he would be if he was in 1984.
Immediately pick it.
Outside of him having an armband, you don't immediately
No,
pick
you don't immediately pick that it's the same actor as Naroon.
No.
Because the feel is very different. So you're not looking for those tells.
Oh, yeah, and his hostilities are internal, while Naroon's are external. In his performance, Naroon is very upfront about what he wants and how he feels, while this guy is very hidden and reserved. And I didn't know it was the same actor for a very long time. I actually, like I said, I thought this was Kyle MacLachlan, but I did recognize him when he was Mr. Wells from a Star Trek episode. I think it's called Night Terrors, in which it is an episode where he plays a Betazoid who was on a spaceship in which this crew went insane and killed themselves and went crazy because they couldn't get any sleep because this other alien race was transmitting a distress signal into their brains that was affecting their REM cycle, REM sleep. And so they couldn't go to sleep properly. And since he was a Betazoid, he wasn't getting affected in the same way, but he was catatonic. And I remember him because he looks exactly the same here, but I thought he was great in this. But Mr. Wells is the Night Watch. You have him just... his presence in the episode really is solidifying how much of a reach Night Watch has on Babylon 5. And they really go to town on that in this episode, where you start to notice how many people have the armbands, how many extras they throw the armbands on, and how many people attend the meeting, that it really has risen in numbers since we've seen it in the Shadow of Zahadum episode.
Your position here could benefit us as much as we can help you. You have access to certain information, certain reports about the comings and goings of various ships, people, and cargo, activities which may strike you as potentially dangerous or disloyal. You could be of great service to Earth.
Does Mr. Lance know about this conversation?
Oh, no. The Night Watch is a separate division of the Ministry. I just thought we should be discreet.
Zach is peer pressured into identifying a shop owner as committing acts of sedition, which extend to him saying, I don't like the import fees.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't like my taxes. Okay, we're going to shut your shop down and put you in jail.
What do you think about that scene? Because this episode's got a lot of moving parts in it, and this is just one of the scenes in the episode.
Yeah, it's slick. It really shows the insidious nature of that kind of sort of manipulation of people into either being complicit or participants. Because it's just like, he can't convince Zach to just name somebody. So it's like, well, just confirm.
Yeah,
just confirm. You're not adding anybody to the list. You can ease your conscience this way. but we're going to get you to do what we want you to do, which potentially makes it easier for the next time. Maybe when you decide to name somebody.
Yeah, it's classic fascist indoctrination tactics, cult induction stuff as well, in which there's lots of positive reinforcement, but also with the underlying negative there of everybody's judging you and we will turn on you if you don't do what we want you to do. But there's always this positivity in front. He's smiley. He's saying, hey, Zach, you're a great officer. Don't you want to be a loyal citizen? And you're quite a flexible guy, Zach. And seemingly minimizing the accountability, because Zach
also the way
has
that
principles, but he doesn't want to compromise them. And so how do you make a person compromise them? One little bit at a time. So, hey, Zach, we're not telling, you know what? We don't want you to do this in the way that you don't want to, but could you maybe, I don't know, confirm? Just say, yeah, this guy's speaking some stuff. That's all we want.
Just moving the needle a little bit.
Because it's small, it doesn't seem like you've compromised yourself, but you have. And before you know it, it snowballs, and you have to reckon with that. Either you fall down the rabbit hole like other people are in this organization, or you stand up, and Zach has to really grapple with that.
He reckons with it and with himself and the consequences of what he does in a very interesting way. And within this episode, so much of that is within the performance.
Yeah, Jeff Conaway is great in this.
And one part that I really want to acknowledge, because I love the way that this line is written, because it just feels so true to bureaucratic assholes. The way that he explains, well, yes, you can use your discretion, but don't use your discretion because you don't have all the information. You might not know. It's up to us. We get to decide.
You can't be trusted. You're stupid. Trust us, though, and help us to do evil better. I was, when watching it that first time, I was scratching my head at it, though, not because of what the Night Watch were doing, but the show making Zach a character. I just couldn't fathom
Lou just got all the cake.
Lou got all the cake and couldn't handle being the show anymore, so he left. I didn't know Zach was going to be I didn't know he was going to be a main cast member in the seasons to come. So when I saw him here, I went, hey, they're giving this guy a lot of stuff to do. That's weird. I just found it very odd that they were giving this nobody schmo guy stuff to do. But really, when you think about it, that's really great, because the type of person to fall into an organization like the Night Watch and making them a sympathetic character to view, because obviously there are people who would fall into Night Watch that are supremacists and xenophobes and idiots as well. But to have a sympathetic point of view character that would fall into this is somebody like Zach, in which you go, oh, why would we care about this guy? He's just a nothing schmo. Those are the type of people that just the average people who kind of don't know any better and kind of get looked over can sometimes fall into these things unwittingly, and that is what makes Zach such a compelling guy to view, because he doesn't want to do bad. He wants to be good, but also he doesn't want to step up to the plate. He has no ambitions of being a hero or doing anything big. He just wants a paycheck.
Go back to, I think it is the Shadow of Zahadum, where Sheridan is talking to Zach, and Zach's just like, oh, I wouldn't want to fucking deal with that.
Many people, we like to think would be the big heroes, but many of us would rather keep our head deep in the sand than take it out and possibly, risk it. And that's Zach. And when I saw it that first time, I really didn't understand, why are we focusing on this nobody guy?
I mean, yeah, Yeah, I heard him talking, but it's just talk.
That's fine. There, you see, that wasn't so bad. You learn. You're flexible. You show great promise, Mr. Allen. Great promise indeed.
Over the course of the series, we've become very accustomed to Earth doing the wrong thing, choosing the wrong sides, being bad, sucking, being evil. We have the Nazism and fascism on the rise.
Earth is bad. Earth is bad.
So it
Earth
becomes
will choose to do the wrong thing every time.
So it becomes kind of funny whenever Ivanova and Sheridan
hopeful.
are hopeful that the system is going to work.
Like, oh, they're here. They're actually going to do something, and they're going to do the right thing, right?
And to the credit of the series, it keeps it fresh for the most part, not all the time, by having
disappointment is earned each time in a different way.
Because the evil is different. It's still under the same ideological umbrella, but the presentation is different. So, Ari Benzane is different to Mr. Lance. But both of them are corrupt, evil Earth figures who have come onto the station and are disrupting the flow of things and aren't being helpful.
A Chamberlain sort of allegory in this case.
Oh, yes.
Appeasement. It'll work. It'll work.
So Mr. Lance has come aboard Babylon 5 from the Ministry of Peace. He's one of the head honchos with Mr. Wells, and they're here to finally have Earth step in with the Centauri situation, because the Centauri are spreading war. They're invading other alien cultures and their worlds, and they're starting up a whole
good orange man loving Sheridan thinks that.
Yes, Sheridan loves oranges. Yes. I thought you were like a good orange man, and I'm like, how's this going to relate to Trump somehow? Because when I hear orange man, I think of that, unfortunately. And hey, this shows relevancy. You can make a lot of parallels, but yes.
I was just going to say that he's an orange-loving man.
He loves pulp.
Who thinks that Earth is going to do the right thing and side with the non.
Why does he think that? At this point...
Because it's the right thing to do, and he's a fucking dumbass sometimes.
Sometimes I swear Sheridan is dumb as a rock.
Because he's like,
too naive.
It's the principles, right? The Centauri have done the wrong thing. They've done legit fucking war crimes that are astonishing, and like used this freaking machine, I guess, that's bombed the Nod back into the Stone Age.
Yeah, and we're not going to allow that. Or what we are?
There's no point on the map that Londo can show him.
Because it won't end.
Because it won't end. And Sheridan knows that. So he's like, well, it makes sense, right?
And I've said it in my reports, and hopefully they'll read them, but I know they won't. Oh, brother, here we go again with reports, paperwork, logistics.
The excitement he gets at the thought of somebody maybe having read his report, and that's why Mr. Lance and Mr. Wells are there, is so cute.
But
he has so many moments across the season where it's like, you're such an adorable puppy of a person. Yeah.
But the variety of misdeeds from Earth is always great, because Mr. Lance, he comes across and he seems like a very pragmatic, logical, wise, and nice person.
He's given rabbi vibes to go back to season 1.
Oh, yeah, sure. He just has grandpa vibes, and that's because he is one.
Yeah.
They point that out. You can see it even in the dark. But I really like Mr. Lance. I really like Mr. Lance as a character and as a tendril of what Earth's whole deal is right now, where there are people who genuinely believe that this is the good thing to do, But Mr. Lance has inherent bigotry within him. The look of disgust and embarrassment when Jakar comes up to him in that hallway, because he already knows what he's going to do. That's the thing too.
And he won't be honest with Jakar.
There is no, we're investigating Centauri. It is, no, we're looking at what's happening and just solidifying and making sure that what we're doing is right. Because we've already made up our mind that we're going to team up with the Centauri. We've already made up our mind. This is kind of just a thing to go through the motions, honestly. Mm-hmm. And so he has this sense of he believes in the cause of Earth.
Yeah, and he can't run the risk of finding any information that might go against what he's been told to do and want to do. And any word with Jakar might influence.
And it's still a Earth first stance.
Yes.
We are going to be fine. Earth will know peace because we're teaming up with the big bad boys so they won't hurt us. But it's about we are going to finally be at peace.
Leaving the Centauri, the fucking, what's the line that Londo has of, we're stabilizing the area.
Creating a buffer zone. Man.
Londo's hair gets a lot of floppy action in this episode because he's angry a lot.
There's wonderful plays of dynamics with Mr. Lance and Mr. Wells because there's many scenes in which you can tell that they've maneuvered politically in conversations with our main characters. So you have that whole bit where Sheridan has ordered the fight against the Centauri war cruiser that's come along because the whole entire conflict in the center of this is a non-heavy cruiser has asked for sanctuary at Babylon 5. The crew of Babylon 5 has offered it, but they haven't relayed that back to Earth or to Mr. Lance and Mr. Wells. And eventually they find out and the Centauri come and there's a whole conflict and the Centauri get shot out of the sky because they shot first. And I really liked that scene with Sheridan arguing with Mr. Lance about it. But with how Mr. Wells enters that scene, there is this level of, when you look at it, especially between the two actors, that Mr. Lance and Mr. Wells already knew how the conversation was going to go.
Yeah.
It was just a show.
Yes.
It was just a thing to put on. Mr. Lance is just doing this thing, but they already knew.
Playing it out.
They're just playing it out. So Mr. Lance is going to do this thing. Sheridan's going to do that thing. And then Mr. Wells will come in and actually have the thing that they've already organized. They've already got this prepared. They've already got, you are going to make an apology. We've already done this. I've never really thought about that on other watches before, how Mr. Lance is far more in the know than you think he is. There's actually multiple times in which, does Mr. Lance know about this? No, we're keeping him out of this. But no, he knows what's going on. He's aware.
He knows.
He's a lot more slimy than you initially think he is, which is cool. It makes him a little bit more interesting on each rewatch, how his layers of Insidious, just how far they do keep going down.
Now, you're quite wrong there, Captain. We have reasoned with them, and they have shown great patience. Now, despite their loss, and given the fact that their ship did fire first, they're willing to drop the whole matter in exchange for an apology.
Apologize for doing my job like hell.
At this point, we are losing hope in Earth. We have lost all fucking hope for Londo. Londo and the Centauri are doomed.
Damned, even. That opening sequence with Londo coming into Sheridan's office and having that absolute bitter back and forth, you can't speak to me like this, and the whole conversation about the expansion and their militarization and how it's all for the betterment of everybody else, for us as well as everybody else, and Sheridan just cutting through the bullshit. Tell me where. Where do we draw the line? Where's enough for you? There's never going to be that because there is no line. You're just going to keep going and going and going. I really love Peter Jurasik's performance because he's doing that thing where the actor as Londo is acting. Londo is acting in that scene. And you have those brief moments where you get what Garibaldi describes in a moment in which you see the fear in his eyes and how he is stuck having to do this, having to just hold on for dear life and hope that he survives it, to bestow the party line. Even if he doesn't believe it himself, he has to do it because that's his role and there's nowhere else for him to go.
Nope.
And it's really sad.
Yeah. He is sad, doomed, and alone.
And you have him throughout the episode. He's just a villain, an absolute despicable piece of shit. You have him on the TV screen just yelling at the Babylon 5 crew for harboring a non-cruiser, and he's just this almost unrecognizable character. I keep thinking about him in season 1 where he was people's friend and you could speak to him and have a laugh, and he was this jovial guy, and here he is just full politician mode, full dictator tyrant.
We are a long way from It's Not That Bad, Mr. Garibaldi.
There's those shots of him on the TV where Sheridan is saying what he's going to do, and his reactions, he doesn't even have to say anything. It's just like his face, how he just sits his chin into his throat with that absolute pomposity and disgust, and you're at a distance just looking at how he reacts because he is just so full of himself at this point, to the degree in which he can't see what Kosh looks like. He is that touched by shadows. He is that far gone that the weird manipulation that the Vorlons have over other people don't work on Londo. He cannot see what a Vorlon looks like. What is your whole read on that and reaction to it?
I think it's partially because he is obscured by shadows. But for me, it is so much a symbol of his hopelessness. Because I think of the scene with, was it the Drazi
and Nan
at the bar, and being like, whatever it is, it's a good omen
for the year to come.
For the year to come, and
this place is blessed.
Londo has no hope.
It's probably the most sympathetic he is in the episode, Londo, because you feel sad for him in a way. Because it just says this guy is just damned. He is damned. That's the most sympathetic you feel. In the whole runtime of the episode, that's the moment in which you kind of feel for him in a way that is not in disgust or in confusion or in awe of his terror. Because then, do you remember what the last image we see of Londo in the episode is?
Oh, him screaming in the council room. Right?
Looking like Hitler?
Yeah.
Doing the arm movements and in his big cape and everything. He is such a mess of a guy. And I remember when I saw the end of the season and that was the image I saw of him, I really thought, wow, he's going to go full villain mode from this time on, and we'll see where they take him next season. But it's unsettling in an image in an episode with many unsettling things, because we have the Night Watch here and they're putting posters up of sedition, and Zach is seeing the consequences of his participation. We have Londo who he feels bad about being in this, but he enacts it as well. And so you keep coming back to our main characters, Sheridan, Ivanova, minorly Garibaldi in this episode as well, in which they don't want to be bystanders. They're actually going to take a stance. And that's what makes them the heroes. That's what makes them people you want to follow, because people like Zach and people like Londo think they have no choice. They think that everything is out of their control. and that the system that they are a part of is maybe it's failing, but they are a cog in the machine. And Sheridan, being a good man, he says, no, I don't give a fuck about what Earth's decision is going to be. I'm going to follow the law.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow the law and use it to benefit others and make positive change. I'm going to help these Narn because it is not only the legally right thing to do, but morally right thing to do. And that is why these characters are so nuanced and complex, because it's an ensemble show. In an ensemble show, we should have characters that we like and that we don't like. And even ones we don't like, we should still have some attachment towards. So by the end of season 2, I don't like Londo. And when I say that is, I still love the character, of course, but my feelings towards him are negative. He disgusts me. I despise him because he is evil. But he's fascinating and I want to watch him. And people like Zach, I feel sorry for him, but I feel troubled for him as well. Sheridan, he's here. He's being the noble protagonist man, but he's also a little bit of a brat. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Yeah. Very, very bratty.
He is not having bureaucracy up in his business. That's another difference between him and Sinclair. Sinclair would actively engage with bureaucracy more. He would actually try to play it. And Sheridan, he has no cool. He's too hot-headed.
He won't play their games.
He's got paper skin, doesn't he? Sheridan, he's just so easy to frustrate. When he shoots them out of the sky, the Centauri makes sure to do the whole, we don't fire first, and they fire first, and then we go after them. And then he murders them. I mean, he kills, they get destroyed. He did want to send medical ships. See, he's a noble hero.
Yeah, he didn't set out to destroy them.
He didn't put nukes in asteroids and blow them up using a distress call. Oh, wait, no, that was just the Mbryo War. Whoops. Hey, but he got a piece of the Black Star in this episode.
Yeah.
What did you think of that little moment?
The impossible possible. The impossible made possible. It was cute. It's cute. This is a Christmas episode.
And a Hanukkah episode.
Yeah.
And a New Year's episode. All in one. All of them happening at the same time. It is truly something to behold. When it comes to Sheridan in this, the thing that I always think of when it comes to Sheridan, this isn't my favorite episode by any means, but if you had to ask me what's a top Sheridan scene, like top 3 Sheridan scenes, it's the apology.
Yeah, in the mirror.
That's in my top 3 Sheridan scenes. Bruce Boxlight is so fucking good in this.
So fucking good.
You can tell, right, that this is a scene in which an actor read the script and went, oh man.
Oh, yes.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. He's having so much fun.
So much fun.
Not Sheridan, Bruce Boxleitner.
Yeah.
He is just so delighted to do this monologue, to have this spewing out of anger, and in the framing of it is glorious. I mean, what do you love about this? Any personal highlights of his apology?
Well, you gotta love his standard chuckle and smile to himself at the end.
I mean, that's just obligatory at this point.
Yeah.
They haven't done it in a little while. He hasn't been allowed to chuckle in a little while. There've been a lot of sad episodes. It's not like he could have been like, giraffe wiped out a whole species. He couldn't do it there.
She called me John.
She called me John. What's that? They're using mass drivers. Jack the Ripper. I like that my Sheridan laugh is just, he has one laugh. He doesn't have a variety. It's just, I do enjoy the fact that he delights in having killed them and that he would do it again and that you guys are idiots and...
Because he's a soldier after all.
He's a soldier after all, but he doesn't actually mean any of his apologies. My apology is that you guys made me have to do this in the first place, but I don't feel bad about it. You guys are stupid. You shot at a station with 250,000 people, some of which are your own. So fuck you, idiot. You stupid, stupid fools. I do wish that obviously we couldn't, but I would have loved to have seen the scene in which he gave that speech and the reactions.
Yeah, that would have been something.
I'm sorry we had to defend ourselves against an unwarranted attack. I'm sorry that your crew was stupid enough to fire on a station filled with 250,000 civilians, including your own people. And I'm sorry I waited as long as I did before I blew them all straight to hell. As with everything else, it's the thought that counts.
When the bomb goes off and he jumps out of the rail car and is floating, is that the worst? Is that the worst CGI green screen the show ever has?
It's definitely up there.
It's hideous. It always looked bad. It always looked bad to me. It's because they're trying to do something very ambitious, but it's out of the realm of possibility for the show, its budget, and the time period. I know what they're trying to do, but it's the sincerity of what is happening, of Kosh coming in as this angel that grabs him and brings him down and everyone reacting, is almost null and void because it's really funny to see Bruce Boxleitner obviously on a wire wiggling his arms like he's falling against this horrible CGI recreation of what the inside of Babylon 5 looks like. None of it looks real. It's just always distracting to me.
This is an episode that has the windows inside Babylon 5, and they never look good either.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. When they're like in Sheridan's office and have the window and it's like a matte painting, and you have when he's falling, you see people's windows, and it goes on.
I'm thinking of the one when Sheridan's talking to Garibaldi and they're in the mess hall or something else. I'd have thought that was somewhere other than the office.
Yeah.
Because it's like this giant window.
Oh, no, that's Sheridan's office. That's just like over yonder. Yeah. We never... For those who haven't listened to this podcast before, we are always very forgiving on CGI stuff from this show. It was the time period. They had low budget. Very forgiving. I don't usually crap on the show because it has the CGI that's irrelevant to me. If the story's good, it's good.
Yeah. But it affects your engagement in this case. It does
mark the episode down for me because... One of the first things I think about with The Fall of Night is him jumping out of the thing from the bomb, and it looks awful. I just think, oh yeah, that's the one with the really awful CGI. It's one of the first things that leaps to mind when I think of the season 2 finale. One of the instant go-tos. Obviously, Kosh. Did you guess it before it got revealed?
No. But afterwards, I was like, well, yeah, which, is a mark of a really good twist.
I mean, what did you think of it? Because you say, yeah, but when it was revealed, were you for it? Were you against it? Were you kind of like, oh, they've seeded this or not? I
was like, how far are they going to push this? Like, how involved were the Vorlons? How involved are they currently? That was my interest.
I was very happy because I guessed it. I knew it. I didn't look anything up. I just kind of had some clues. the flapping of the wing sound effects. In previous episode, the angelic lighting in the show being very heavy on religious themes and historical stuff, and the Vorlons being the godlike race. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they were like angels? But I then, when I saw it, worried, because I worried, oh no, are they going to say that Jesus was a Vorlon? And are they going to do the Prometheus thing where it's just like, oh, did you know that we actually created you and we're your gods, but now we hate you? And no, it's not that necessarily. There's obviously Vorlons have, as Sheridan rightly puts it, manipulated us to favor them, and they have interfered with our history and development and formed our religious beliefs around them, which is creepy. The Vorlons are creepy. I didn't absorb when first viewing it that was a creepy thing, like how Sheridan says. I was more just, oh my god, they're angels. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Neither did I. It was only when we really finished the show and I was like, the Vorlons are really fucked. Especially after we get second Kosh.
Oh, evil Kosh. Yeah, evil purple Kosh. Purple people eater Kosh. Yeah. Did you think we were going to see Kosh in this early, or at all?
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I think I was kind of content with just waiting it out. I was just like, well, they'll show him when they're ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're doing this now? Okay. Let's see.
I didn't know that they were going to show him this early. I was worried that they were going to wait till like season 5 to do that kind of long game thing, because when growing up, the television that was predominantly on that was big was shows like Lost and Heroes and a lot of those kind of twisty-turny mystery things that would often withhold these things for too long of a time, to the point in which your interest in them has faded very much so. And I was worried that they were going to do that. So I was pleasantly surprised and overjoyed that they let that one go. But it also indicated that, no, now they've let one of the big mysteries go, they're going to introduce more big mysteries, and more elements and stakes to play with. And they do.
We have more questions.
They do, obviously, with Kefir getting the word out about the shadows and the ending of that, having the episode ending with the shadows now known. What's going to happen with that? How is this going to play out? What is the future of this series going to look like from here? And the season very much is not looking good. Last best hope for peace. Nope. That failed. It's going to be victory now. And we'll get that with the season 3 opener. But Ivanova's closing statement here really lets us know that those kind of attempts to stabilize the universe around us and to barter for peace and negotiate and make deals, that's over now. That kind of Star Trek-y thing in which, hey, maybe we can just be friends, that's not going to be the case. Next season, war is going to happen. I remember thinking that. They're going to definitely get into war territory proper with the shadows.
Great war.
And
upon us.
And yeah, with the shadows and possibly with Earth, and they do follow through with that, and it's great to see.
We came to this place because Babylon 5 was our last best hope for peace. By the end of 2259, we knew that it had failed. But in so doing, it became something greater. As the war expanded, it became our last best hope for victory. Because sometimes peace is another word for surrender.
People, it's the Spotlight section of the show. No, not the Michael Keaton film Spotlight, but what a great film that is. Wasn't that a magnificent film? We all love Spotlight. Oh, what a wonderful film. But no, Spotlight is when we talk about an actor or actress that appeared in this episode of Babylon 5. We shine the spotlight on them and we go over what we thought of their performance, their character in the episode, anything about the performer that we've learned or things we've seen them in before. And we are talking about Mr. Lance himself, who was played by Roy, what was it, Rachel? Dotrice. Mr. Lance himself. I've already kind of touched upon my feelings on his performance here. I find he does a marvelous job of playing this as a real guy. Again, another one of these actors who makes me believe that this is a real person who's had a history. That scene in which he's talking about the pen, where he's just looking for his pen and he brings up the wife and what the pen means to him, humanizes him, brings him to life,
The
allows
festival.
his grandchildren. It gives him a lived-in quality rather than just being a stuffy bureaucrat who will forget.
It allows you to have hope for him as well, because he is being a person. And surely that means that he knows right from wrong.
Yeah, and it allows the actor to play being this nice man, and then when we see him confronting Sheridan, we get to see the actor have a time playing the meaner side, the guy who is ambitious and annoyed and just wanting to cut this deal and get the job done, but this Captain Sheridan is getting in my way and he's ruining it all for me. And I love how he plays a man who has the sand is slipping through his fingers. He's just trying to have it all and it's just going through his hands, and Sheridan is the one that's making this happen. It's just, he really does play it as he's the main character in his story.
Absolutely.
And Sheridan is the antagonist in his story, and that's awesome.
And there's another great part to this character and to this performance. He says he's doing it for others. But when it's falling apart,
it's all about him.
You know that he's just doing it for selfish reasons.
Yeah, he's doing it for his legacy.
Yes.
All about legacy.
Not for the future that his children and his grandchildren will be a part of, but his legacy.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy who will finally get peace in our time, the Neville Chamberlain, but doesn't realize that he's the Neville Chamberlain. In which we think of Neville Chamberlain. I don't know much about Neville Chamberlain other than kind of historically he's kind of looked at as a fool.
Yeah.
Oblivious.
Delusional.
Yeah.
As many other people were at the time, but I think he's just now kind of pigeonholed as the ringleader of it.
What did you think of the performance?
It was great. It was pitched just right. For me, it played very clearly and layered. Like, he elevated that dialogue. It didn't feel like, and here are some facts about me so that I don't seem so evil from the beginning. It's like, no. He's a person. And he's just telling us some stuff about his life.
I don't want to diminish the actor's capabilities. He has a large roster of work. He has numerous credits.
133 credits on IMDb.
For film and television. We'll get into other things he's done, but I want to ask this because I often think about this when when actors like him come aboard. Is it a cheat because he's British? There's this element of like, oh, he's a British guy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the legwork is done because, he's a British guy.
Yeah.
Like, and he has that specific type of British accent in which we talked about this with the actor's son-in-law at the time, who played the Night Watch guy in The Shadow of Zahadun, where he has that specific type of accent, and he is being an older gentleman, has that aged quality to his voice where you inherently kind of trust him. Isn't that a weird thing?
Yep.
And that is a thing.
Yep.
Hollywood and many places that make these stories will cast British people because there is that thing of they have this certain authority to their voice or friendliness to their voice, or
it worked for me with Marcus.
Oh yeah, he's got a jovial quality, but Mr. Lance here, he has this level of, well, he knows what he's doing because he sounds like a dignified man. He's British after all, and he sounds like he'll get us to where we need to be because he's a nice British man.
That caring tone, and soothing nature of like the tenor of his voice.
You could listen to him talk for hours on end, which many people have done, because one of the big facts about him as an actor is he did the audiobooks for Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones books, and he read all of it. Is, from my understanding, he has a Guinness Book of World Record for having read like the most amount of characters.
I couldn't find if he still has it, because like you can pay the Guinness Book of World
Records,
blah 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 blah, to like register all kinds of records. So I think they just did it for the book that came out in like 2004.
But
because when I searched the website, there was no record of that record.
Okay.
But yeah. And they're like theories that he probably surpassed it in the other books that he read afterwards, because there were like 224
characters
that he performed as in an audiobook.
And he performed over 200 hours worth of audio.
Yes.
Which is insane when you think about it. He's one of those people where he, having done audiobooks, specifically something as big as Game of Thrones, people will just know him for that and may not even know who he is, because I've listened to audiobooks and I couldn't tell you who reads them sometimes. I just know the voice when I hear it. When I was young, this is a fun little story. When I was young and we went on a trip to Sydney, we went to a big library and they had their audiobook section where it was just a bunch of CDs.
Yes.
And I'm not joking when I say this. The row that I went through, I was just going through this one row in the library like, oh, here's this thing. I just went, okay, every CD I pulled out was read by Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen, Michael Sheen, Michael Sheen, Michael Sheen, Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
And I knew who he was because I saw him in Tron Legacy. And I thought he was really fun in that. And I became aware of him as an actor. And I said, oh, this guy's great. But every single audiobook, I was like, is he just the guy who does nothing but audiobooks outside of Tron? So there are these actors, especially these classically trained British folk, who, hey, they got a nice voice. Get him to read an audio book.
Yep.
I went through his catalog of work. Obviously, having read Game of Thrones, he got to star in Game of Thrones. Only a couple of episodes because his health was in decline.
But before we move on,
so
I want to note one of his other audio performances, because he does do other ones.
Yeah.
And for one of them, he was Grammy nominated. And he is also a Tony Award winner.
Oh, I know that.
But do you want to guess what book he was nominated for a Grammy for?
No, I have no clue. I'm really bad at thinking about how audiobooks get nominated for Grammys.
So it was a children's book.
A beloved one?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. I really don't know.
Winnie the Pooh.
I could hear him reading Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, right?
I would listen to that.
Yeah. I want to track that down.
He has such a nice voice.
Yes,
he
but
sounds so pleasant.
He was in Game of Thrones in person. We will note
he was like
now that he passed away in 2017.
94, right?
94.
Pretty good.
I do want to read through pretty much his whole bio that was on his website because his life is fucking insane and I love it.
His life is...
And, like, I just want to go through all of it.
Full discretion. When we were starting this era of our podcast and we said, hey, let's do an actor spotlight, it's mainly because when we did our last rewatch at B5, I wanted to know who this actor was, and I just went to his IMDb, and it just kept going with these amazing pieces of facts and this rich life that this guy lived, and I was thinking, really? Mr. Lance? But that's the thing. These actors are people. They have lives. They have all these different roles. They play all these different connections. Like, one of the connections here is, and I'm pretty sure JMS has said this on his Twitter, is he was in Space 1999, in which he played a bureaucratic guy from who had to enforce the legislation bullshit. And I could definitely see a young JMS watching him in that, going, I'd love to have that guy in my show, like work with him one day. And here he is. And obviously mentioned it. His son-in-law was, one of his son-in-laws, because, boy, oh boy, there's a whole thing where one of his former son-in-laws was Alex Hyde White, who made his guest star appearance as the Nightwatch introductory guy in The Shadow of Zahar-Doom. And then Edward Woodward was one of his other son-in-laws who did appear in Crusade, and his son was Galen in Crusade. So lots of weird Babylon 5 connections for this guy. I just would love to see the family reunion, the meetup, the Christmas meetup, where all of them just talk about their time on B5 and they all just talk in their British accents. All of them with amazing voices, all of them just voice-offing at each other. But incredible guy. I mean, I am not even though he's got a large body of work, I'm not that familiar with it. I look through it and there's only like one or two things that I've seen him in. Like, I've watched Space 1999, so I am familiar, but I can't remember him off the top of my head. But he was in like one or two episodes. And did you ever watch Beauty and the Beast?
No.
I saw that when I was young.
But I do remember him in Angel.
Oh, he was an Angel?
Yeah.
What was he in Angel? Angel is a show that I've only watched like
Pretty
a handful
sure
of. He
was the British dude's dad.
Spike's dad, okay.
No. The British watcher in Angel. Wesley?
Okay. Because Giles isn't in Angel, is he?
No, I think he maybe appears because there's a few crossover episodes, but I think that was it.
That makes sense.
Unless I have gotten my wires crossed.
No, that makes sense. As said, Game of Thrones, I remember him in that. He was like the pyromancer guy, which is fun.
But like, because you didn't notice it in his IMDb, I'm like, was that even him?
No. With Angel, I'm just not as familiar with Angel, so I don't know Angel. That Angel means nothing to me. I've seen like the last episode and the puppet one. I've seen like maybe 5 episodes of Angel in my life. Beauty and the Beast has Ron Perlman as the lead, which is very cool because this Roy, he got to be in Hellboy 2, which also had Ron Perlman in heavy makeup. I wonder what that's like for Roy. Like, every time he worked with Ron Perlman, he's like in some freakish makeup all the time. And he was he was the co-lead in Beauty and the Beast. He played a priest. Now, he played a lot of priests. I went through and I'm like, whoa.
There's a lot of fathers.
A lot of reverends, a lot of fathers. I don't know if he was in competing roles with Jim Norton for priests.
Maybe.
Because both of them played a lot of priests.
He did a number of video games as well, including at least one of the Game of Thrones video games.
You have to.
Which is also cute. Do you know of Saturn 3?
I know of the name, but I haven't engaged with it.
So it was a 1980s movie, and he's not in it physically.
Is his voice again?
Yes.
Is he the voice of Saturn 3?
No. At least I don't think so.
I know he's in Earth 2.
No. He's the voice of Harvey Keitel.
I read this because Harvey Keitel had to be dubbed over.
Yes.
Obviously, people were ripping their hair out having to say, guys, he was Mozart's dad in Amadeus, which, yes, he was.
But do you know what makes that even more fun, in my opinion?
What?
In 2000, Roy was nominated for a Tony and he lost to Ian McKellen in Amadeus.
Fucking Ian McKellen.
Then sorry. That he won his Tony in 2000. It was in 84 that he lost to Ian McKellen, or 82,
Okay,
82, 81.
Ian McKellen.
In 1981, he lost to Ian, and then in 84, he starred in the film version as the dad in Amadeus.
Yeah, in the back half of his career, he did a lot of sci-fi. Sliders is there as well. And like we said, he even did some voice in Spider-Man stuff. He was in
Batman.
Tales from the Crypt, the movie and the TV show. So evidently, yeah, he's just one of those guys where we're going to just keep chucking him in, like I said, Earth 2 and Murder, She Wrote. Now, he wasn't in any of the JMS written episodes of Murder, She Wrote. He was in the season before and 2 seasons after. But he did do Murder, She Wrote, which is a recurring thing on Babylon 5 where the casting people keep bringing them back.
He also did an episode of the A-Team, which has reoccurred a number of times.
Oh, yeah. He just had a huge roster of things. Even Cheech and Chong movie in the Corsican Brothers, where he was the bad guy in that. So he was just really fun. I like him a lot. I've only seen him in a handful of things, but every time I see him, I go, "Hey, it's Mr. Lance." And even though he's a bad guy here,
yeah,
I still trust him. I go, "Hey, it's Mr. Lance. I love that guy. He's a nice guy."
Okay. Can we go through his bio now?
Please. So this is from his website?
Yes.
So wait. Let me get prepared.
Very 90s built.
Let me get prepared for his website. Okay. So he's acted everywhere except for a boat, right? Oh wait, no, that's Andreas Katsoulis' website. Sorry.
Was born on the Isle of Guernsey, one of the Channel Islands off the coast of France and a part of the United Kingdom. He was the first child of Louis and Neva d'Autrice, who were respected quality bakers.
Nice.
But when the Germans occupied the island in 1940, Roy and his mother and his brother escaped to England. Here, in 1942, age 16, Roy joined the Royal Air Force Army, the Royal Air Force, I should say, sorry, and was trained as a wireless operator and an air gunner. He was soon flying missions, bombing enemy territory until his plane was shot down, captured, and taken prisoner. Roy spent the rest of the war as a POW, where his first taste for theatre took root, performing concerts to raise the spirits of his fellow inmates.
You know what's amazing about that story? I mean, that's an amazing story. You know, everybody finds their journey with acting in different ways and different circumstances. When we talked about Marshall Teague and how he found his avenue into acting and how that's incredible and off the beaten path. This guy was a prisoner of war, and that's where things in the darkest of times he found a light, and it was acting. And to take a moment of levity here with that story, because that's dark. I mean, that's it's World War II.
It's messed up.
It also sounds like a Hogan's Heroes plot, in which he's this weirdo British guy who's now in there with them, and then he gets this passion for acting, and they put on a stage play for Colonel Clink.
Than fiction.
Yeah, they put on a stage play for Colonel Clink, and he's using the stage play not only to just find his abilities as an actor, but also to escape, and they have to try and stop him from doing that because no one ever escapes.
You ready for the next stage of his life?
Yes.
At the end of the war, Roy decided to follow his instinct instincts and pursue an acting career. It was at this time Roy met and married actress Kay Newman, and for the next 3.5 years they acted in repertory with Charles Denville and the Denville Players. During this time, Roy also produced and directed some 300 plays.
Only that many? Come on.
With a new one being performed each week.
Wow. That's pretty decent.
Like, that's insane.
But did he act on a boat?
In 1957...
He acted on a boat.
No, Roy joined the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre in Stratford, England, which later became the Royal Shakespeare Company. And for the next 9 years, he worked in all of Shakespeare's plays while working with the world's greatest actors and directors.
Wait, are you telling me this guy's a theatre actor?
Yeah, he is.
This British actor could have done Shakespeare?
Yeah.
I find that hard to believe, Rachel.
Yes.
I find that a little hard
he
to
was
believe.
there for 9 years.
Hey, is it mandatory that every British actor... Oh, that's a long time. Is it mandatory that every British actor has to have been involved with Shakespeare?
Yeah, I think
Is
so.
that just a part of it?
Yep.
Like, that's the rule?
Yep.
You're not
At some
allowed,
stage.
You're not allowed into the BAFTAs.
No.
Unless you've done Shakespeare.
You can't become a famous British actor if you haven't done Shakespeare at some stage. Even if it was like your grade 2 play.
I'm pretty sure even Lee Mack has done Shakespeare.
Yeah, makes sense. Interestingly enough, Roy considers his greatest achievement. What do you think? What do you think this man said that his greatest achievement was?
Finding peace in our time.
No. Though, you know, maybe he thought that this was peace.
Sorry. Acting on a boat.
No. Was to introduce baseball into what had been a cricket stronghold.
I read this actually and it made me laugh a lot.
And in 1959, he pitched for his team that included at first base Paul Robeson, a fellow. Second base, Sam Wanamaker. Iago. Third base, Lawrence Liverpool. Cornelius. Cornelius? Shortstop, Peter O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole? The bastard Peter O'Toole.
This man, who was blessed by God with an amazing talent, was pissing it up against the wall, and that's what made me loathe Peter O'Toole. That's what made me hate his bloody guts sometimes. He'd just be moronic, insulting, and violent. A complete pain in the arse.
Charles Larton, Leah, plate umpire, Albert Finley.
Albert Finley?
His catcher.
The Albert Finley?
Mm-hmm. And there's still a little bit more. Are you up for it?
Is it Laurence Olivier there?
No, that's the end of the baseball story.
Damn it. I wanted it to be like, and the umpire was Patrick Stewart as a baby.
You still having fun with this?
I'm smiling.
Mm-hmm. The training he received was to lead him into radio, film, television, and a multitude of wonderful theatre productions staged throughout the world. Roy has appeared in 10 Broadway productions and received a Tony nomination for his work in A Life, and on June 4th, 2000 received a Tony Award for his outstanding performance in A Moon for the Misbegotten. Roy and Kay have been married for 53 years and have 3 daughters, all of whom have become actresses. And that's the end of his bio.
Do you think we'll make it to 53? Do you think you'll make it that long?
Well, how old will we be?
We'll be old enough. We'll be in our 70s, right? Can you make it till then, Rachel?
So maybe.
Almost 3 years in.
Well, it'll be 2065 when we've been together for 53 years total.
Mm. Well, no, marriage though.
will be 2072.
Mm-hmm. So we'll be in our 80s.
79.
The Fall of Night.
It's a yum yum, Ryan.
Yum yum.
What is it for you?
Yeah, it's a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It's very well constructed. It moves along nicely. The characters all make sense. The reveals are great. And the setup for where next season can go is gives me a chill down my spine thinking about where we're going to go with season 3.
Yeah.
So next time, people, we'll be doing our season 2 wrap-up and recap, in which we go over our general thoughts on the season, talk about our favorite episodes, our least favorite characters, highlights of our discussions over the course of time. So make sure to tune in for that. You better, because if you don't, you're not going to find out where we're going to rank Kefir. He's going to be not only favorite character, but favorite episode will just be his runtime in the entire show. Like we just put like a compilation of every scene he's in and call it the Day of Kef. And that's our favorite episode. But you'll have to listen in to really find out how much we are going to go into. So make sure to tune in. Rachel, where can people find us on the internet?
They can either find us at YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast on your social media of choice, provided that they are on the list that follows, which you can also find in the description. So if you are interested in taking a look at our TikTok, our Facebook, our Reddit,
Twitter,
our Tumblr,
Instagram,
our Twitter,
Bebo. We don't have a Bebo.
Club Penguin.
MySpace. Reddit. We do have Reddit.
Gaia.
You can email us. Oh, Gaia. That's a good one too. OnlyFans. Or we call it Only Yums. Because it's bad. We only give yums for that kind of content. But no, we do have a Patreon if you do want to support us financially and get exclusive extra bonus content. Get fresh hot takes on modern Star Trek. We've done Star Trek Picard. We're going through Strange New Worlds. And we have a group Discord that you get to be a part of if you join up to the Patreon. That comes at you. You can email us at yumyumpod@gmail.com if you have any questions, queries, thoughts, or concerns, or things you want to pass along our way. We are always open to talk. All of this is in the description, as stated. Jakar was here. But I don't want to say it. You know, we always say good eating to you, right? That's how we end every episode, because Jakar said it in the pilot one time and then never again in the show. But I want to mix it up, Rachel, if that's okay. I'm throwing this at you now. I know you've got your jaw on the floor. You're not prepared, but since it's Kefir's last time here in the show, can we just give a wholehearted, solemn thanks, Kef, to end this?
No.
Please?
No, he fucked everything up. I don't forgive Kefir.
But don't you thank him for leaving?
Thank God he's dead.
No. Thanks, Kef. Come on, just one real...
Thanks, Kef, for dying.
Okay, it was great to hear from JMS, but what do you think, Rachel? Thanks, Kef.
For dying.
Oh, and for having a beautiful face in your final shot.
Mr. Cannibal!